Hello, welcome to the help video for section 9.3, graphing quadratic functions. We are going to use a table of values to graph this equation right here. Now, to begin with that, we're going to find the x value of our vertex, which is the same equation as our line of symmetry. The formula for that is the opposite of b, I like using parentheses for all of that, over 2 times a. Those parentheses are going to help us from making some arithmetic mistakes. Now, what do I mean by a and b? A is the coefficient of the x squared term, or the number multiplier in front. Now, there's nothing written there, so I assume that that is a 1. So I'm going to have a equals 1. B is the coefficient, the number multiplier in front of the x to the first term, or just the x. So that's going to be b equals 6. And finally, just for good intention, the 5 on the end, we refer to that as c, and that's used for other formulas, so we might as well write it down. C equals 5, and that is known as our constant term. It's the one without an x on it. So now I'm ready to go ahead and plug these into my formula. So I have the opposite of 6 over 2 times 1, which comes out as -3. Now that x value of -3 is going to go in the middle of my table, -3, and from there I'm going to count up and down. So -3, -4, -5, and then the other way I'd have -2 and -1. I'm going to take each of those x values and plug it in for x in my original equation. So I'm going to do this by hand. I would encourage you just use a calculator. If you're not feeling terribly swift at it, that's fine. So I'm going to put in -1 first, and use parentheses when you do this. It's squared. That'll help the calculator and you from making arithmetic mistakes. Plus 6 times -1 plus 5. Fantastic. So then that gives us y equals 1, because -1 times -1 is 1, plus -6 plus 5, which actually comes out to 0. So that goes along with 0. I'm going to do the exact same thing now, but instead of plugging in -1, I'm going to plug in -2, my next value. So I'm just erasing this stuff here. In your calculator, you can just go ahead and swap out inside the parentheses a -2 this time, -2. So -2 squared is going to be 4 plus -12 plus 5. And that one, that comes out as -3. So this is -3 as my answer. Now I'm going to do the same thing with -3 in there. All right, -3. That 5 on the end, I don't have to erase that. That stays as a constant term. -3 squared, -3 goes here, so that comes out as 9 plus -18 plus 5. So that comes out, we got -9 plus 5 is -4. And I do the same thing for -4 and -5, and that comes out nice and symmetrical because the numbers I was counting, I counted by the same interval either direction for my vertex. I went by ones, went by 1, went by 1, changed by 1, changed by 1. And so this side of it over here is going to stay symmetrical from the vertex. -4 in the middle, then -3, and 0 and 0. It saves us some work. Now I go ahead and plot the points. This is a long problem for the quiz. So I go, let's start up here, -1, 0, -1, 0. -2, -3, -2, -3, -3, -4, -4, and then again and again. There we are. Boom. Fantastic. Okay, there we are. We have our graph. Fantastic. Hope that helps. Enjoy.